So, I've been known to shamelessly plug things on this channel, and as one person, who I assume is an ESFJ, said to me once in the comments, you should make ESFJ videos because they're much more likely to have jobs than these INTPs or INFPs, and can actually pay you. So, dear ESFJs, while I have your attention in these crazy times, if you'd like to buy a typology-themed mug from us, or visit our Patreon for more content, we'd be honoured to have you. ESFJs, the mother and father bears of the personality type world. The stereotype is of an attentive caregiver who knows your needs before even you do. Now, that's actually not too far off, but it is incomplete. This caricature comes from the dominant function of extroverted feeling. ESFJs will take responsibility for other people's feelings. They will caress situations subtly to maintain a harmonious vibe. They are smooth operators, especially in conversation. I've had experiences talking to ESFJs for the first time, and it feels like meeting up with an old friend. They seamlessly balance the need to both talk to make the other person feel comfortable, and also to listen to make the other person feel heard. I think it's easy to view people of this type, or this archetype, as being servile, or in a position of servitude. But this completely underestimates the artistry which is needed to maintain harmonious relationships with people, and, to an extent, to be both caregiver and peacemaker at the same time. In a sense, ESFJs have the most pure and straightforward extroverted feeling, because it isn't directly attached to a weird intuitive function. Extroverted feeling and introverted sensing. Having extroverted feeling and introverted sensing as your top two functions is the ultimate in comfort giving. ESFJs will take it upon themselves to make sure that you are running smoothly, to maintain your homeostatic balance. ESFJs, like ISFJs, will give you the health interrogation of, have you eaten? Are you getting fresh air and sunlight? Etc. I've been on the receiving end of that particular interrogation quite a lot, and the answer is almost always no. Please feed me. I associate the function of introverted sensing most with maintenance, but in all senses, from the day-to-day all the way to the abstract. The day-to-day example I always give, because I've seen it so many times, is the idea of a full fridge. High SI users are very attentive to changes, so that means they could detect if something is running low, whereas some intuitive types will only realise the fridge is empty when they're hungry and open it, and ESFJ will be way ahead of the game, noticing these things are running low long before they've completely run out. They're like this magical force that keeps all of the things you take for granted running smoothly. They are the kind of type, and this is why sometimes I think they're taken for granted quite a lot, whose presence you unknowingly feel every day, yet only truly appreciate when you see that everything starts to fall apart the moment they're not there. But maintenance can extend, as I said, to the abstract as well. Often this can manifest as being maintenance of traditions. That's not to say that ESFJs are necessarily going to be traditionalists, but they do find great comfort and great value, and even great wisdom in those routines and rituals that have been passed down to us over time. All high SI users have a great respect for conventional wisdom, whereas the intuitive types who want to shake things up with new ideas and revolutionize everything often throw the baby out with the bathwater. ESFJs are going to be much more grounded and see the great value and worth in conventional wisdom, which is like the accumulation of our ancestors' insights. Third slot, extroverted intuition. This is an interesting one in ESFJs. ESFJs can be extremely funny and comical in the same way that ENTPs and ENFPs can. I know one ESFJ who is like the Library of Alexandria for memes. I'm not saying that extroverted intuition and creativity are the same thing, they're not, but it's rare to find a type that values NE and isn't creative in some way. ESFJs love to engage their creativity, and they'll often incorporate it into what they're doing in quite subtle ways. For example, if you're doing something like designing your house or cooking a meal, you can actually imbue these activities with lots of creativity, and ESFJs often do. ESFJs are not going to be frightened of sudden changes in the same way that an ISFJ or ISTJ would. They're going to be more balanced with their SI and NE. They see conventional wisdom as standing on the shoulders of giants, but at the same time, they have a respect and open-mindedness for new and fresh ideas. Introverted thinking inferior. ESFJs have a natural dislike of cold and dispassionate analysis. Obviously, undertaking an action because it's logical is not something they're going to object to, but when that analysis discounts or devalues the effect that decision will have on other people, that's when they have a problem with it. They are fundamentally people-focused types, and you can see this in conversation as well. It's comical to see intuitive thinking types and sensing feeler types in a conversation. One will be giving very specific examples from their day-to-day life, often concerning people, whereas the other will come back with abstract concepts and ideas. And when things are going well, that actually creates a really nice conversational cycle or flow, where as an observer, you get to see the same topic covered from these completely different yet complementary sides of the spectrum. When a high TI user, let's say an INTP or an ISTP, is telling a story or just conveying something, there's going to be this obligation to logical coherence, or let's just say accuracy. When an ESFJ is telling a story, the accuracy is less important than the overall vibe that's being created. So the best way I can think of to explain the ESFJ communication style is by analogy. If you imagine the impressionist artists, let's say the piano players, there's broadly speaking two types of piano music. One that has a very precise and very distinct melody, but then there's another kind, which creates kind of like a soundscape, an overall mood or vibe. ESFJs are the latter of those two. Polar introverted intuition. ESFJs have introverted intuition as their polar or worst function. This is an idea that comes from the socionics typing system. Introverted intuition is a kind of mysterious function. It takes real-world observations and turns them into abstract concepts, often with the aim of discerning the underlying patterns it observes in the world. It's often, and I think rightly, associated with planning and the creation of a long-term vision. For ESFJs, like I said of ESTJs, they can sometimes find themselves very energetically going around in circles. They can have difficulty building this step-by-step plan that exists over a very long period of time. ESFJs function so efficiently and well in day-to-day life because they have these structures and routines and systems they've built up over time that tick the boxes of things they're likely to encounter. They focus and react to other people and other people's desires, and sometimes that can come at the expense of the, let's say, necessary selfishness that it takes to pursue your own long-term goals. ESFJs are fantastic unifiers, caregivers, full of social finesse and comfort-giving smoothness. Perhaps destined to be underappreciated lots of the time, but eventually the people in their life will realize, if they're wise enough, that ESFJs make an irreplaceable impact.